last week the conversation on support organizations and their relevance to the family and society kicked off. We learned so much.
Yes, we learned so much, Helen. Learning so much increased our appetite. And hence, we have to learn even more about persons who have positioned themselves selflessly to provide support for others in need.
And so while we looked at support organizations available to meet the many needs of widows, widowers, and the sexually abused persons last week, today we bring it home to support for persons with epilepsy and mental health.
Yes, all efforts are targeted at providing better and quality life for sufferers and other members of the family.
And so we welcome you on board. This is the Family Focus Breakfast Show on TV. It's today with John and Helen, and as usual, my name is Helen Ongma-Odeleye, and it's a pleasure to be on the program this morning with you.
And you say, as usual, as if there's a chance of your name changing.
I can't change it. You never can tell.
Well, I am John Sanaya, and this is our contribution to the well-being of the family. And of course, I'm delighted you're part of the conversation today.
So stay with us as we take a very quick break to bring some messages. Once again, it's Today with John and Helen on Plus TV Africa, and you are very welcome to the show. Don't go away. We'll be back in a jiffy.
Yes, support organizations, and some may even call them NGOs. How much of the job that they do are we aware of? Can you be a part of the solution? If yes, how? We have answers to these and more in the course of our conversation as we zero in on epilepsy and mental health.
And we have two passionate and committed persons doing so much in these areas. They will be joining us later on the program. But right now, John, Lagos last week, Nigeria last week, the world last week. What's happening?
There's a lot. There's been a lot. But Helen, you know what I'm going to talk about? I'm going to talk about how difficult it is getting accommodation in Lagos. The cost of accommodation has gone through the roof. So landlords and landladies like you, what are you doing about it? Are you going to continue milking us?
I think a lot of them have ascribed it to the new or increased rate, tenancy rates that the government has required for every tenant like us and like you, to pay. It's like over 100% increase. And because ordinarily you wonder, a property that was put up 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago,
yes,
with practically no cost, if I can use that word. I mean, you expect that the cost will be lower now.
Yeah, that would be the logical view to look at it. But you see, the cost of living itself has increased and it affects the landlords.
But the opportunities to make wealth has reduced.
Yeah, well,
that's the dilemma.
That's not the landlord's fault, is it? The cost of living has gone up. School fees have gone up. The cost of moving from one place to the other has gone up. So don't blame us.
Don't blame us.
So Helen, I think that should be it for today.
Every Saturday on this show we talk about the increased rate of insecurity in the country. I think we would put that down today because we're talking our subject matter today, epilepsy and mental health. There are two aspects of life that are linked to almost every other area, and so I'd like for us to focus more on that and give a lot of attention to that today.
Yes.
So the things about the news, if you want to find what's in the news, Plus TV has got it all. This morning there was so much on the news, so we can find all of those issues there, I think.
Yeah, we can. Of course we can.
All right. So we move ahead.
Yes, we move ahead.
All right, so we all experience the good, the bad, and the ugly. The critical factor is how we react to these happenings. Our reaction on this program, of course, every week is to march on with a positive mindset to providing life-saving enlightenment and information.
Life-saving enlightenment.
Yes.
And information. And of course, to help us look at support system for sufferers of epilepsy is a mother who has an undying love for her son, and the trauma of caring for an epileptic son sent her on a worthy mission.
So our first guest this day is a chartered accountant and fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria with a diploma in social care from England and Wales. She's a member of Epilepsy Action, United Kingdom, member of the British Institute of Learning, and more. John, take it away.
Yes, our guest is CEO, Mary Special Needs Foundation. She's the initiator and builder of a recreational park for Modupe Coal Treatment and Care Home. That's a very familiar one. Well, Mrs. Adedoyin Hussaini is here to inspire us today. We want to welcome her to the program.
Welcome to the program, Ma'am.
Good morning.
You're also an author of a book I have read, and it has blown my mind. It's a pleasure to have you on the show with us today.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think before we jump into the questions, right, we owe the audience a little break here,
Okay.
don't we?
All right.
Good.
If there's need to take a break, can we go on a very quick
Short
break,
break.
please? All right, if you're just joining us, it's Today with John and Helen on Plus TV Africa. Last week, we started the journey looking at support organizations, and today we continue, and hopefully we should be rounding up on today's outing. So we have debunked, and Madam, once again, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
Mrs. Adedoyin Hussaini, the CEO of Mary
Special Needs Foundation.
Mary Special Needs Foundation. All right, so there's so many myths about epilepsy. We want to debunk some of them on the program today. We're also trying to find some solutions and bring people who probably don't know where to look for help, to find the answers in those areas today. Now, let's start from the very beginning. Talk to us a bit on this journey. How did it start for you?
Oh, really? I had, after my first child, I had a secondary infertility. So I didn't have him until after 7 years, which actually is, he was his treasured child. Okay. But a year into his life, it was raining that day, the traffic, there was a huge traffic jam that I had to trek home that very day. So by the time I got home, it was my house help that came down running. And I found it very unusual because even she was going to come down that way, she would bring my child and I welcome both of them. Mm. So she just said, Mom, come. So by the time I got upstairs, I found him motionless, and his eyes were blinking, something I've never seen before. So by the time I took him to start rushing to the hospital, I found my mom. She was also in the traffic. I think she wanted to come and see me. So she joined me in the race towards the hospital. My uncle too just came in that time, Tunji, of late Chief Tunji Odegbami. He also saw the pandemonium, and we all went to the hospital, rushing, running. We couldn't take the car because there was this hell of traffic. So we got to the hospital, then we found him jacking, twitching. My mom, I'm sure even if she has seen it, she's never taken special cognizance of that. But this very day, it's happened to her grandchild. And my uncle too was bewildered, and they gave him some medication. He was calmed. Then later again, the twitching and jacking started. Then we moved to Duru Shuleye, and he didn't come around until about 2 a.m., something that started about 7 p.m. in the evening. So we were told that he might likely suffer from epilepsy also, because he was just around 1.5 years old, and that was how the journey started. So we moved from hospital, trying to look for solutions to support him. We moved from hospital to hospital. We saw Dr. Sheyu Roberts. We went to Lut. We were told to do different types of tests, diagnosis, different types of things, findings, investigations, in order to know what exactly on how to help. But alas, we were not satisfied with the kind of solution we were getting, because the problem continued. When he takes the medication, he gets home, he can't talk, he's just morbid, he's just looking. We could not really engage with him. So apart from the medication that he was being given, there are other issues that were coming up that nobody could explain to us.
So that was that one episode.
Yes, disruption.
In
the family.
Started
Concern
all of
for
this.
everybody.
And you see, I've tried to follow your story, and I'm trying to imagine the level of confusion and all of that you have. And it's not peculiar, it wouldn't have been peculiar to you, because so many people don't know what this condition is all about. Now, could you tell us? A lot of people have said it's a mental disorder. Is that right?
It's a neurological disorder. It's not a mental disorder.
Okay, it's a neurological disorder.
It's a neurological disorder.
Not a mental disorder.
Not a mental disorder.
Okay.
Not a mental disorder. Because I'm not a medical doctor, but a mental disorder could be like someone is, the way we would naturally look at it, like someone is mad, and you can't control yourself and things like that. So it's something that comes with the brain, and it's termed, epilepsy is termed a neurological disorder that is characterized by an electrical activity in the brain.
Great.
So when that electrical activity starts, then there's a movement, there's an unusual behavior with that person, such as twitching, staring, lip smacking, jerking. Some would you will be hallucinating. Some will be having some, because this characterized behavior, unusual movement, some could be non-movement, and some can be ones that comes with movement. The ones that don't come with movement could be like having funny smell, could be like seeing visions, could be like staring, could be like having funny taste in the mouth, a feeling of anger, anxiety, depression. These things will happen within that person. But someone who is literally looking at this person physically will not see what is happening within that person. The person might be hearing voices. And when, for example, you're hearing voices and you're looking at someone will just say, oh, this person, I
and
think
of course, you're not connecting.
You're not connecting. I think this person is mad. And these are environments where information is not really much. The person might actually take to his heel or tactically avoid engaging the person. So epilepsy is something that is a neurological issue. And it depends on wherein it affects the brain when the electrical discharge happens.
I was reading some of the things you wrote, and you stated somewhere that You know, in every 5 persons with learning disability, there is a possibility of epilepsy. What's the link? Learning disability and epilepsy.
Learning disability. When you have a learning disability, it means you are within this spectrum where you have kind of social inability to interact socially. It depends on the spectrum. If one is at the end of the spectrum, you may not actually be able to get the social skill. You may not be able to get the social skill. But so the trend is that you might be mentally impaired, you might be physically impaired, and you might be socially being able to engage in the society. And that is more on learning disability. Your inability to be able to comprehend, like a normal person will just quickly go like a twitch.
Yes.
Someone with learning disability does not mean you cannot engage or be a part of a society, part of a group. What it just means is that you might be very slow in processing information. Like any other person, you can process information. But when you tell someone with learning disability, you might have some kind of hearing impairment. So you need to kind of slow down, break down your words, and I can assure you, whatever you want them to do, they would do it and accomplish this task.
It's just that your
What
approach,
it means is that your approach is very crucial.
Yes.
You must give them time to process their information.
You need to be deliberate.
It should be a conscious
communication.
effort to slow down information gathering. Then sometimes the ability to hold information may not be like a normal person.
Okay, to retain.
To retain information. Okay. So what it means is that you might need to use things like visual aids. You might use like gesture because, you know, like when you are describing things to a normal person, you assume that when you say the road or the clock or the farm, the person, your minds have met, and the person understands what a road is, what a farm is, and what it means when you say work. But with somebody with learning disability and that kind of impairment, you might need to say work. You know, you're including sign, you include gesture, you make sure there's eye contact, because that's how you get their attention. Then you break whatever you want them to do down. So being someone with learning disability does not mean you can't achieve. It just shows that the social inclusion may not be as the way it will be with someone
regular.
Social inclusion.
And I'm going to take you up on that. Social inclusion. Because you see, we cannot have this kind of conversation without talking about some of the huge elements, societal, you know, problems that we have with cases of epilepsy, stigmatization, exclusion. Those are keywords that pop up when we have this conversation.
How much of it?
Yeah, it's so huge in this environment because of lack of information. When mine started, my son have seizures. I never even thought about seizure, that it's going to be contagious. All I'm concerned is, how do I support my child? How do I help him? How do I support him? So when the seizure starts, is what do I need to do to get him out of this seizure? And the question is he going to die? Is this boy going to die? You know, so, and this environment, we don't really have much information. Even teachers in schools. Some people, apart from the medical doctors who work in the hospital, probably the nurses as well. There was an incident where a training was being done, and it was meant for the nurses in this environment. And one of the nurses had a seizure. All the nurses, despite their intellectual abilities,
that they were nurses.
Away.
The stigma, you know, the environment, the myths, they all took to their feet. So even the learned ones, they teach them in the class. They may not have really come in contact.
They are the real life situation.
Real life situation. So when they see this kind of thing, it's like what do I do in this situation? So it's so much in the environment.
Yes.
Key policy makers in places of employment, they don't have a clue.
Yeah.
If somebody has a seizure at work, epilepsy, the next thing is, how do we choke him out?
Yeah.
Whereas what they should do is to
Support.
look for a reasonable adjustment. Because it doesn't mean that the person is not intellectually able. Able. But the point, the fact that there's a myth surrounding this thing, that is contagious, they are not intellectual, they are not smart, they are not intelligent, they cannot do work like any other person, they cannot get married, you know, all these
And these
things.
are all wrong assumptions.
They are all wrong assumptions.
Yes.
So employers in the places of employment will not take them. Schools don't do necessary reasonable adjustment. There's no policy in place as to how do you support people with medical needs.
We're going to get to the nitty-gritty of that in a moment, because the focus is on support organizations, and you have a support NGO for the specific people. At this point, I'd like to know, how many are like you? How many of your type or organization, you know, do we have around helping and supporting families and sufferers of epilepsy?
I'm sure there are a lot of organizations. They may not actually be, we do even have a lot on epilepsy, because we are also on Instagram and we connect. We have loads trying to say, even individuals who are epileptic themselves, trying to come up with, you know, raising the awareness. There are lots of them around. But what we need to do is we also have what we call the Epilepsy Owners Association. We are on the, we are on the WhatsApp group, social media, where we exchange ideas. When we have new things, we jot them. We share information, and when we have new ideas, things to share, we share it. We have it on the social media. We have Epilepsy Owners Organization, and one of them is Treat. One of them is there's a lady in Benin. We have loads.
Quite a few.
We have quite a few. It's just that each person's focus is different.
Okay. What's your focus?
My own focus is to support persons with special needs through raising awareness, information sharing. That's what we do basically. And presently we are working on epilepsy and education. We've done epilepsy itself, knowing epilepsy, know your epilepsy, diagnosis, the triggers, the treatment. What do you do? How do you identify? Because we have over 40 types of seizures. Wow. Over 40 types. And the one people know is just the one where the tonic-clonic seizure, where you go, where you fall on the floor, fall flat on the floor, and you know, you are frothing, you are
foaming in the
mouth. Yeah, those are the ones people know. You don't know about the absence. You don't know about the atonic. You don't know about the tonic. You don't know about the tonic-clonic. You don't know about the myoclonic. You don't know about the reading, photosensitive epilepsy.
Yes.
You know, like this light here, if it flickers, and I have a seizure, I do have seizures. If it flicks us at a particular rate, maybe 15 to 25 a second, I might go into seizure. Wow. You see people go to parties, they just turn on flickering lights with patterns, and the celebrants of the organizer things, they're bringing a fizzy, you know, a spark into the environment, so people can really enjoy the fun. Not knowing you're already doing some harm to somebody who might have some medical condition in that environment.
Which is why, I'm sorry to put it, I just realized now, which is why for some TV programs where the lighting it flickers a lot, there's a warning. You know, that says, you know.
Yeah, there's a flashing light around.
Flashing lights. Like,
yeah.
Makes a lot of sense now, doesn't it?
Then there's nothing like that.
Yes.
Someone would just be probably watching the television and it just goes into seizure.
Gets triggered. Because
there's no information, everybody runs away, nobody is there to help the person.
Wow.
And if it goes on for too long, especially the tonic-clonic one, that person may be deprived of oxygen and the result may be fatal. And once epilepsy is properly managed, it's not likely to cause a huge damage. Because when someone does have a seizure and he doesn't get the intervention, the care, the support that that person needs promptly, then it might give a probably fatal result.
Yes.
And all it needs is what we call action. What we need to do, you assess the situation, you cushion the person's head, you time the seizure, look for an identity, never restrain, time the seizure, and if there's a need, immediately call the ambulance. So some seizures,
that
you
is
don't,
action.
Some seizures, all you need to do, make sure the person is in a safe environment and allow the seizure to take its course. 2 seconds, 3 minutes.
I have about 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, but once it's more than 5 minutes and it has not stopped, then in this, if it were abroad, all you need to do is to call the ambulance. And within a few seconds, the medical crew is there. But in this environment...
Yeah, but Lagos State is...
Yeah, we are trying in Lagos. We're trying in Lagos State.
Lagos State,
really
but Lagos is just one state of the federation.
Yeah.
This is not limited to Lagos alone, John.
No,
right?
I mean,
just
Lagos
to
point it out that
we've got the hospitals, very close clinics, the nearby, what do you call this, primary health establishments, centers. I think Lagos is really doing great.
Yes.
Lagos is doing
we must
great.
say that.
But we are not there yet.
Go for sure. All right, it's time to take a quick break, madam.
Yes.
When we do come back, we would look at practical things that you're doing, that your organization is doing in terms of supporting the family in case there is any member, who unfortunately is suffering from epilepsy. Okay, can we go on that break?
Yes.
All right, so let's take a quick break and we will be back before you know it. Welcome back to the show. It's Today with John and Helen on Plus TV. And today we zero in on support organizations as it affects those who are suffering from epilepsy. And our guest, Mrs. Adedoye Useni, is still here. Now, John talked about stigmatization a while ago. The general belief is that a problem, shared is a problem half solved. And I wonder why people shy away, why family members would hide a child or an adult who has this condition and not come open to source for help.
Yeah, this is typical in our environment because of the age-long myths that have surrounded epilepsy. And that is why a lot of people, even the learned, a lot of key people in the society do have this kind of issue as well. But because they themselves don't have this information. I remember that there is one of the governors that had a child with this kind of issue. I heard.
Okay.
But because if it is true, this is the kind of thing that one of the programs that the wife to the governor should do.
Okay.
If it is true.
Yes.
And I'm sure a lot of them are doing this kind of thing. But if they have this information about this age-long myth, because someone with epilepsy is likely to have what we call cerebral palsy. And that cerebral palsy could manifest in things like, we have people with autism, we have people with epilepsy, we have people with ADHD, and they are of different spectrum. Some very low, some very high, some medium. And once this information gets to the key areas in our the education itself, if it's included in the curriculum for schools, we will have a generation that will appreciate what learning disability is and how to cope, how to support themselves in the society. There was a situation when we had one of these awareness programs with the Ministry of Youth and Social Development. We invited some of the students, the prefect, the head prefect, and the key people in the school. And this boy described a situation when one of them had a seizure and he was standing up on the balcony. And they never knew what to do about epilepsy or seizure. This boy just started running and he jumped from the first floor. So what he did was to call the other groups, other members, other students. So they all like 4 or 5 or 6. They now helped him down. When he fell, they didn't allow his head to go on the floor. And that boy said he never believed it's contagious because even when they helped him, he was almost falling because there were 6 or 7 that helped him. He was still jerking and twitching. And afterward, none of them got it. So he has a life experience of nothing being contagious. But in school itself, they don't know about it.
Okay. And that is ignorance.
It's pure ignorance.
The level of ignorance is so scary. And, you want to know, could you tell us, what are you've said a lot about twitching, that. What will be, for a man on the streets like me, what would be the typical signs of this condition when we see it?
Yeah, that's why we have this book. It's a epilepsy handbook.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's meant to bridge the gap between the professional in the field and the common man on the street.
Thank you.
We have gone into churches. We have gone into smaller groups, establishments, trying to make them understand what epilepsy is all about, what could cause epilepsy, and what we call epilepsy, the diagnosis, the triggers, and how it can be treated. So the common man on the street, once there is huge awareness program, that everybody is in the jingle, it's on billboards, it's being on billboards, being learned in schools, part of the curriculum in school to support not only epilepsy, supporting learning disability. If it's part of the curriculum, before you know it, this information, there will be a generational spread. And there will be a generational shift from the gray areas that we normally take as the meat to a period of awareness, because the younger generations, when they see it happening on the street, they would help. There are a lot of people having seizures on the street, and people will run away. But if it's part of the school curriculum, if employers are aware, owners of organizations are aware that it's not a big deal, it's not contagious. All you need to do, you know the first aid, know how to support, and if there's a need for medical assistance, because there are some seizures, there's some epilepsy that would not easily be controlled with medication.
Okay. You talked about several other people who are doing what you're doing. Let's look at what you do specifically now. There are a lot of people, maybe not only in Lagos, but in the remote areas. A lot of the times I'm more concerned about the people in the remote areas, or even people in Lagos who are in the semi-urban areas in this, who may not be on Facebook, may not be on WhatsApp, may not be on social media. What are the opportunities that are available to these ones to access information and support from your organization, for example? How has the journey been? What are the things that you do on a regular basis? Seminars, workshops, trainings? Talk to us.
The journey has been a little bit tough because of funding. Because I started with my own money, then also my son supported me and some family members supported. So what we have been doing to raise the awareness and share information, the first thing I did was to say, let us put this thing in black and white. So we're in a situation where I cannot talk to people physically, and one of my followers can do what I'm doing. So because what we do, I recreate myself. Okay. That whatever I'm doing, as a follower, you must be able to do it. So we also do in-house training. One. What we also do is on Tuesdays, we visit hospitals to meet sufferers and the new ones. Because when they come for the EEG, electroencephalogram, when they come for the EEG, what would I do? I talk to them. We let them know that it's not a big deal because, you know, when they come, you see them so gloomy, head bowed, and it's like that's the end of life for them or the children. So we meet them and we tell them, and I tell them physically, I said, I'm also in your shoes. But the difference is that I have information. Yes. And you could see the gloom, the lights from brightening in them and say, oh, are you sure? There's help. So we meet them. Then we also organize parent workshop. We organize parent workshop probably once in 2 months, because when we have like 10 people, 10 families, then we organize. Some we give them the book and we explain what it is about to them. So whatever, any questions, we're also on Instagram. Every day we do post on issues that affect persons, Very Special Needs Foundation. We post to let for people on this, but for people who are not there, some come to us, but they come to me, they call me, and they're just free to contact. We also have radio programs. We've been for radio programs where people are calling to say this is their problem, what do they need to do. I also have an academia, a professor with a child who is a lawyer. Okay. She had one of our programs and she came to me, and we were able to kind of modify her programs and say this is what you need to do. It's not a big deal. And she's living her life. She's a pretty girl and she's bubbling around.
That's interesting to hear because, you know,
a lot of people. We also support families with medication. What do we do? Sometimes we give them a little bit of money, but we also have sponsors who adopt that child. We have someone on hand now. What the adopters do on a monthly basis, I'm sure she wouldn't want me to mention her name. We have one of these senior lawyers. She used to be a permanent secretary in Lagos State. And when we had this problem, we approached her. And since then, she's been supporting this child with monthly medication. Okay. Medication should be free for people with epilepsy.
Is it free?
No.
It's not.
And it's so expensive. And if they don't take this medication, their situation is likely to go worse. Yeah. So it's so expensive. This is an area the government should look into. Government should look into areas of supporting people for their supporting them, sponsoring the medication. I don't know if they can do that. Create awareness, bring it as part of curriculum into schools, and with that, there will be a lot of even people in ministry. They don't know what this thing is.
There's really a lot to talk about here because I was going to look at some level of comparison between the social welfare system health-wise for people in this category as it is in developed world and what it is here. Is there government assistance in any way? Is the awareness sufficient? Are there policies for this? My director is saying we have just about 2 minutes to go.
Okay, I think government is also trying, because when I had interactions with Ministry of Youth, Sports and Social Development, I saw people coming in having issues and they are looking after them. But compared to what is happening, if you have to benchmark in abroad, once they know you have learning disability, you are not able to work, government will support you. Government gives medication support. They also, in terms of curricular activities, they support them. They have monthly money that they give to them. I think they also do something close to that in Office of Disability in Lagos State. But there's a need for them to actually be able to benchmark with what really happens, because there was a time I went to the ministry trying to help them design the form for eligibility. Okay. But I realized that they don't really understand where I'm coming from, and we weren't engaging. Okay. And I saw that they are not really interested. There was this issue, I went to Ministry of Education as well. They're not interested. Okay. Yeah. So it means the key players there doesn't really understand what it's supposed to do.
Well, we just have to keep on.
Yeah, we just have to keep pushing on and pushing on.
That's why we have people like you.
Pushing on. I'm not relating. Of late, I went to Superb, trying to see what we can do to the 5 special schools in Lagos, and I'm sure they're also looking at it. I don't know what's. It depends on the key players. If they don't have these issues,
we'll keep at it. We'll keep at it. Yeah. Well done.
All right. Anything you want to leave, like a last word?
Yeah, like now we need to. The Medical Recreational Center has actually been run down. Okay. The equipment, the playground, so we need to upgrade and rehabilitate the place. Okay. So we're looking for people to support us in terms of the play equipment, because when we had it, 50 people back to back can be on the.
Okay.
But now, the last time I went there, it's looking like it's an health and safety issue. The things are getting spoiled. You know, the fence. You know, the fence
broken down. That's a story. That's another whole story. You know, because I'd like to ask why a recreational facility for Modukwe Coal in terms of epilepsy and physical disability, but that's a show for another day. Yeah. If you don't mind, we are totally out of time. Okay. But we have really benefited from your wealth of experience and the work that you do with people living with epilepsy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah? You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, there it is. So we have hopefully been able to debunk the myths about epilepsy. We have also provided relevant information on the condition and where you can get support and help. Mrs. Adedoyi, I will say, is both a torchbearer and an inspiration. Thank you once again, ma'am.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, moving on.
Thank you, John.
Make way.
Thanks, Ellen. Yeah.
Moving on now. Let's make way for our Keep Fit instructor, who I'm sure will take us through some rigorous but needed session of exercises.
You can say that again. And after that session, still talking organizations, support organizations, Feral Water Mother Lifestyle and Wellness host on this show will be speaking with Dr. Mimuna Kadiri. You know her. They will be looking at support in medical health. If you're ready, in mental health, I beg your pardon. If you're ready, let's go to the gym. It's exercise time.
Thank you, Pharaoh. Okay, this morning, you're welcome to the fitness segment, all right? So we're going to be doing, as usual, simple exercises that you can do on the go, all right? Just things that are very simple, because, you know, the fitness industry there's been a paradigm shift. We moved from the old days of, you know, just regular aerobics to the times when we just move more, do things that will challenge you a little bit more, okay? Because the more you challenge yourself, the better you get, the better you become, the healthier you become. So this is what we're going to do. This is why we're doing this particular segment. And remember, I said it will be like 10 minutes, just something you can do on the go every day of the time. Then you go about your business. So today, we're going to be doing a simple exercise like punches. You still stand in one spot, and then we'll punch for 20. Then we'll go with power knee. Bring it up for 20. When we do that, then we'll go down and do what we call inchworm. And that's like this. I'll demonstrate the exercise. You go down, just straight on, stay here, and come back up. Simple. You'll be shocked at the level of force we don't go down and come up. How difficult it is. Now let's start this. Are we ready, guys? Okay, so let's go. It's easy. Bring your hand forward, tuck in your abs, and then we're going to punch for 20. Ready? 3, 2, 1, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When you punch, 7 to my hands. 8, 9, 10 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Go there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bring that leg up. 6. Get your hands. Meet them in the middle. 8, 9, and 10. 10 more. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, change leg. 1, 2, 3, watch. 4, you bring it up. 5, make sure that leg comes up. You see the hand, you travel. I'm knitting in the middle here. Thereby working your abs as well. Where we? Yeah. So we'll go down for the inch one. It's just a simple movement. You go down this way. I want to turn so you can see me. Move forward. There, stay there, shoulder over wrist, and trace your hands back, and you stand. Simple, right? All right, let's try that. We're going for 10, okay? Let's do this, come on. I know some of us find it difficult to go down and get up. This is your chance to improve that. Ready? Let's go. Go straight. There. That's 1. You get up. 2. 3, 7 more to go. Now, some people like to add a push-up to this. Now, I want you to watch Patrick add a push-up to his own. All right, yeah, watch. What he's going to go into a push-up is for those whose fitness level has gone up. Okay, now, if you can't do that, it's okay to just do this as well. All right, these guys are crazy. We'll do the simple one. I'll do the simple one so you guys will watch. What's the number, guys? How many do we have left? How many? 4 more. Okay, we'll have 4 more. So we're here. Let's do this. Making sure your legs are straight the whole time. That's more than 10. All right. Okay, so let's go for a second set of this. We're doing a second set, guys. Ready? Bring your hands again. Remember, I said you have to punch 20. When you punch, tighten those abs. Cause a contraction here and just go. All right, let's go. 1, 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're going back to inch 1. We need to make 10. Are we ready? All right, again, let's go. Keep your hands. Unless you can't, then you fold your knee when you're going down, all right? But otherwise, keep it straight, like this, all right? See, I told you these guys are crazy. You don't need to do the push-up with it, okay? They're good at what they do, okay? So you can do the simple one. That's how many for? Okay, we have 6 more. You can do the simple one. Stay here, shoulder over wrist, and place your hand backward and stand up. See, done 2. We have 1 more set to go. 1 more set to go. Ready? 3, bring that hands up again. All right, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more. 10 punches to go. Come on. That's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Remember I said you bring your legs up. Then we're back to the challenging aspect of it. That's the inch 1. Are we ready? Okay, again, remember, keep your knees straight. Go back. Those of you out there who are tougher, you can add yours. Okay, that's like 5. We have 5 more to go. see, when you do this, like I said, it's just 10 minutes. 10 minutes. You can do this before you go and get into the shower, and then after that you go about the rest of your business for the day. So we've come to the end of today's workout, and I'm sure if you enjoyed this, even if you didn't, try and join the next one and enjoy it. So until I see you again, thank you very much.
Mental health is a hot topic at the moment because one of the things the pandemic has done is put a spotlight on a lot of mental health issues. But I find that we sometimes forget about the everyday triggers to our mental health, things like traffic, work stress, and relationship and family challenges. So today I'll be talking to Dr. Maimuna Kadiri about our mental health and how we can ensure we stay sane and mentally healthy in this fast-changing world we live in. Dr. Maimuna is a mental health advocate, psychiatrist, psychotherapist. In 2017, she produced a Nigerian mental health awareness documentary called Little Drops of Happy. She's also a columnist in the Guardian newspaper, and she recently became the best-selling author of the book Deep Expression. Dr. Kadiri is also the founder of Pinnacle Medical Services Limited. Welcome, Dr. Kadiri. Thank you for being one of the friends of the house, because you've been on a few times before, and taking the time to speak with me today. It's really an honor to have you here with me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure being on board.
I love your hat. I think it's like super cool.
It's part of prioritizing my mental health.
Awesome, awesome. So let's delve right in. So we're talking about mental health support today. What is the difference between mental health support and mental health?
Very important question. Thank you very much for that. And it's good for us to quickly delineate that and lay emphasis on what mental health is as against what mental health support is. When you hear both words or statements, you know that English-wise, it's just easy to just know that mental health is mental health, or mental health support is support for mental health. So what is mental health, according to the World Health Organization? Is the ability for an individual, number one, to realize your potentials in life. Number two, ability to deal with the day-to-day stressors of life. Number three, ability to work productively and fruitfully. Last but not the least, the ability to give back to your community or, your society. Down in that four sequence will really help us to definition. But again, you can look at it differently. We can also say that mental health refers to the BCE in the absence of D. When you look at the letters, BCE in the absence of D. And what do I literally mean by that? Mental health refers to behavioral, which is the B, cognitive, which is the C, and emotional well-being of an individual. The moment a D comes in, there's a disease condition, it becomes a disorder. So if you don't want to go through the other four steps I talked about, ability to realize the potentials in life, deal with the day-to-day stressors, work productively and fruitfully, and give back to your society, look at the BCE without the D. Refers to the behavioral, cognitive, and emotional well-being of an individual without the D, which is the disease or disorder condition. So mental health refers to how we think, feel, and behave. But what is support? Support just literally means the support we get from ourselves, from family members, from loved ones, from colleagues at work, from the society in general. That is where we talk about mental health support. So when people hear the word mental, please wait for the word that comes after it. Is it health or an illness? All of us have mental health. What we do not all have is a mental illness. And so this is where the stigma, the discrimination comes in when people just say the word mental. It does colo mental, this is where the stigma and discrimination comes in. So we all have mental health, but studies and statistics says that 1 out of every 4 individuals in the world we have a mental health illness in their lifetime, including Nigerians. So we're not saying in the world, in the absence of Nigerians. No, we are talking about in the world, including Nigerians. So that is the difference between mental health and mental health support.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maimuna. And, you know, you've explained it in such a succinct, easy to grasp manner. I love BCE with the absence of D. In fact, I'm going to make it a song. BCE with the absence of E.
Without the D.
Thank you so much for explaining it. And you know, there's something you said there that is actually quite pungent, which is that we all have mental health. Every single one of us. And at the beginning, when I was complimenting your hat, you had said that is part of your
mental health,
looking after your mental health. And to a lot of people that may sound strange, but I get it. It makes you happy. You've talked about behavioral, cognitive, emotional. Your hat is the emotional. You know, so I get that. Thank you so much for that. As individuals, what role do we have to play in improving the level of mental health support in Nigeria?
As individuals, and I like the fact that you said as individuals, because who make up Nigeria, the society, who make up the 7 billion people in the world? It starts with an individual. So for you as an individual, the first rule is knowing that you are here on earth to be the best you are destined and to desire to be. So what do you do in your own little space, in your own corner, in your own unit, in your own family, in your own department, in your own community, in enhancing mental health support? It starts with the right mindset. Telling yourself that I understand that mental health is intrinsically linked to my physical health, and I have to be intentional and deliberate about it. Mental health is changeable. Mental health is not fake news. Mental health is not get up and smell the coffee. Mental health is not snap out of it. Mental health is you as an individual. It makes up your health holistically. You cannot remove it from your physical health. Once we understand that, it enables us as individuals to begin to start building what we call the culture of compassion. This is where the support comes in. When we don't have the culture of compassion, people are not able to understand or feel how other people feel. This is where the empathy comes in, which is part of support. But of course, starting from an individual, you have to understand that you know yourself. When they say physicians know yourself, it's not all about physicians, it's about you as an individual. And of course, hand in hand, hands on deck with all the people in the society, in your family, of course, first, in your unit, in your department, in your office. When you begin to build that culture of compassion, it will encourage help-seeking behavior. It will allow people to speak up and speak out. It will help to build safe spaces where individuals will be heard, will be listened to non-judgmentally, wouldn't be criticized, wouldn't be judged, and most importantly, as Nigerians, we wouldn't be apostolic towards them. This is where mental health support comes in.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And like you said, as individuals, we need to learn compassion. And I dare say we also need to learn empathy. When we begin to be kind to ourselves, number one, and kind to each other, we're able to support each other in terms of our mental health. Thank you so much for that. So everyone talks about the major mental health challenges, but not enough about the everyday triggers to our mental health. Can you please very quickly speak a little bit on this?
Triggers are everywhere. There are triggers right where you are sitting. There are triggers right where I am. Triggers, can come from all the 5 senses that are around us. The way you think, the way you feel, the way you act, what you hear, what you perceive. Like the social media space right now is filled up with so much. So, and you cannot unsee what you have seen. You cannot unhear what you have heard. You cannot unsee what you have watched. So triggers are in our everyday lives. But what we make of these triggers, how we view these triggers, how we, absorb these triggers, these are the ways that can either make or break us. So triggers can be me waking up now and I know I'm supposed to be here sitting with you and having this discussion, and I'm giving excuses that, there's no light, this is this, I will be throwing tantrum, people around you will start getting angry because I woke them up very early on Saturday. It's usually our, day that we all sleep until like 11, 12, noon, and me, I'm now fusing up and down. So little things can set somebody up. And this is why we are very particular when we say building a culture of compassion. Knowing yourself is important. So when there are issues, don't be in denial. And when somebody is telling you about his or her issues, do not trivialize them. So triggers can come from anybody. Triggers can even come from you about the pessimistic views you have about life, about the, negative self-talks you have about life. So triggers can be anything. If you're a Lagosian, we all know what traffic looks like, right? But if somebody in Ibadan is telling you, you're like, what do you mean by that? So these are some of the things that can make, and that is why we are saying, let your support start from your own little corner. Make your space home friendly. House is different from a home. How many of us are intentional about making sure where we live is a home where you are coming to, wherever you are in the world, you are looking forward to coming to your home, not necessarily a house. Make it stress-free, a happy place for family members and friends that come around you. So that triggers can be minimized. The truth is that stress will never go away. It's part of our everyday life. But how you view stress can make or break you. You are only stress-free when you are 6 feet down or when you are in the morgue. So stress is there. You can't totally avoid stress, but you can be aware of what is stressing you. You can acknowledge what is stressing you, and then you begin to adapt, adjust, and accept that you are stressed and you want to work on it.
Wow, thank you so much. You see, I'm going to take you back to B, C, E without the D, because a lot of the times we don't realize that we can only control our actions. We can't control the next person's actions. So that goes to behavior, cognitive, emotional. And then the D happens when we do not adjust ourselves accordingly. And then we end up having some illness or the other because we're not managing our stress levels properly. Thank you so much for explaining that. There's something that I always find very curious. Young people versus older people. Do they experience the same everyday mental health challenges?
It's like you saying me and my daughter. My daughter is not going to be worried about school fees. I have to pay the school fees, like literally, but ours is to just make sure that she passes and I don't have to repeat, the fees again. She wouldn't bother about house rent. She wouldn't bother about some certain things. So, yes, there are age differences when it comes to certain mental challenges, but the truth is that most of our mental health conditions, diseases, is not a respect of anybody. And that is where I always need this in the board. There is nobody on earth, including myself, speaking now, that being an expert does not make me immune to having a mental illness. It doesn't. So that is why we would always say, as younger people, as against old people, we find out that mental and behavioral disorders, when it comes to dementia, is more among the elderly than the young. But we find out that depression is more among the females than the males. Suicide is more among the males than the females. So there are gender differences, there are age differences. But one key thing between this age difference, whether you are young or old, is that the millennials and generation Gen Z, they are the therapy generation. They came to change the narrative on how we view mental health. The way myself and baby boomers and generation Gen X or Y, we think about mental health is different from the way millennials and Gen Z will think about mental health. They will come to us, our children come to us and say, I think I have depression, mommy, and I need therapy. and then we will start casting and binding. God forbid. What do you mean? Devils. No. This is a spiritual attack. Village people are after us. Wash your mouth. I bind, I cast. Let us fast and pray. Our children know what it is that is going on with them. So they come, and so that is why we have to go back and start talking to families, to parents, so that they will understand. When their children come to talk to them, they will listen non-judgmentally to understand their children, not necessary to respond. Because it's very easy for us to respond. I pay your school fees, you have a roof over your head, you have clothes before COVID, and you go for summer holiday. Well, of course, when COVID happened, everybody has to sit down in their house. COVID told us to be calming down, right? But the truth is that you start narrating everything you do for this child or these children without listening to understand what that child is going through. This is why we are now having children becoming more depressed, suicidal. I've had a 9-year-old who had killed himself.
Wow.
And you wonder what is a 9-year-old thinking about? There's cyberbullying. There's school bullying. There are children living in a hostile environment, in a toxic relationship in their homes because there's domestic violence in that home. And let's not forget, with the advent of COVID-19, there were other 2 pandemics within the pandemics. Increase in gender-based violence and increase in mental illnesses. These were not declared global pandemic, but they are on the increase and there is exponential. So we find that there are children that thought their fathers and mothers were demigods, but within the COVID period, especially during the lockdown, they were in a hostile home environment and toxic relationship with their parents. So we are now seeing children, especially adolescents, becoming more depressed, suicidal, and even killing themselves.
Wow. In a few seconds, you've literally just smashed the table. And there was something you said at the beginning that really, really rung true. Listening in a non-judgmental, non-responsive manner, because you're 100% right. A lot of the times, parents and adults, we don't necessarily hear. We're very quick to respond. I've done this, that, and the other. So we're not really hearing. And then we're placing judgment. And the child goes off feeling that they haven't been heard.
Yeah.
You know, and then depression sets in. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. I really hope that.
Let me give you a real life example. We launched our book on the 11th of July. So we have 11th of August, 11th of September. This is just basically like 2 months plus now. This is it, deep expression. We have seen 21 teenagers within these 2 months. 21. And out of that 21, 18 of them have been suicidal and have attempted suicide twice. I'm not talking about Caucasians. I'm talking about Nigerians, you and I. Because the book will expose you to asking yourself questions. We teach you how to normalize mental health conversations. We teach you how to listen non-judgmentally to understanding what your child is telling you as against responding. And parents are now beginning to ask their children these questions, and their children are like, Dad or Mom, why are you asking me now? I've been self-harming myself for the past 3 months or 6 months. Look at my hand.
My goodness.
Because they are not able to build that culture of compassion in their homes, which was absent. For the fact that you care for your child, school fees, a roof over their head, food on their table, no. The millennials and Generation Z, please listen attentively if you're a parent. They are the therapy generations. They have come to change the narrative, how we view mental health and mental illnesses. They will tell you what they are feeling and how they are feeling, because they've gone to Google, they've run tests, and they know that they are depressed.
Forever. And we still would. Please give us. apologies for the break in transmission. Technology can be a bit unpredictable sometimes. So I'm going to go straight to the question I was about to ask Dr. Kadiri. So Dr. Kadiri, are you here with us? Are you still here with us? We're back again. Yay.
Yeah.
Dr. Kadiri, we lost you for a few seconds. I'm sure everybody's like glued to their seats. Oh my goodness.
I don't know what happened. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Apologies.
No problem. I can't hear you anymore.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you now, yes.
Awesome. Technology. We're going to get there eventually.
Yeah.
So, is there a 5-step guide we can follow and start implementing? I mean, start implementing now, immediately, to protect our mental health. I want a 5-step guide that even I can write down, put it on my mirror and say every morning, every day, this is what I'm going to do.
Let's make it easier for everyone. Let's make it an 8-step guide.
Awesome.
Yeah, so why am I saying 8-step guide? Because I want to use an acronym that is very relatable, and we can begin to start one or more of these steps I want to highlight. And it's called self-care. People need to understand that self-care is absolutely not selfishness or self-preservation. Why? Because you cannot give what you do not have. So you have to have it in abundance and operate from a place of abundance as against a place of deficit. So that's why I say let's make it a step. Self-care, the SELFCARE, 8-step guide. What is the S? Self-awareness. That's something that everybody must institute, be deliberate and intentional about. Be self-aware. Know your stressors. Know who is stressing you. A lot of times people ignore that. Who is my stressor? Thinking is every other thing, minus the who. Somebody may be stressing you. Know what is stressing you. Know where the stress is coming from. Know at what time this stress is more. If you start doing stress journaling, starting from even today.
Dr.
Right?
Kadiri, I don't want to interrupt you, but I really want you to go through self-care very quickly.
We're running out of time. Okay, yeah, okay.
So number 1, self-awareness.
Number 1, self-awareness, yes. So knowing what it is stressing you so you'll be able to manage it. Number 2 is exercise. Exercise 30, 45 minutes, brisk walk 3 to 4 times a week is very important.
Or even just cleaning your house.
Exactly. L is limit exposure to excessive news and social media. We know what fake news is all about and all. That can easily mess up your mental health. The F is find and engage in pleasurable activities. Anything that is pleasurable, that keeps you calm, is something you can start now. C is connect. Connect with people, the right set of people around you, family, friends. This is where the Sorosoke comes in. The connect with people rather. And the A is ask for help. This is where Sorosoke comes in. Asking for help is a sign of strength and never a sign of weakness. R is rest and sleep. There's no accolade, no award for the busiest person on earth. Find time to rest and sleep. You need it. And the E is eating right. With COVID, there was boost your immunity. So SELFCARE, 8 steps to prioritizing, optimizing your mental health. Pick one today and run with it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Kadiri. Honestly, that's such a wealth of knowledge. Self-care, self-care.
Yeah.
My own favorite part is our rest. Thank you so much for taking the time to come here today to speak with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you too. Do have a lovely day.
You too. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
So in a few seconds, we're going to very quickly round up the show. So please stay tuned with us. I hope this has been really, really productive. Remember, self-care.
We're wrapping up the show very quickly. It's been awesome. If I can borrow Pharaoh's words, it has been awesome for me. And I'm sure that John's Nugget will add more value.
Been mad, though.
It has been mad. No, mad is not good, though. Dr. Memuna will not agree with that.
Okay, so my nugget, the first nugget, I have two. The first nugget is happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Helen.
Thank you.
But the nugget for today, which is on public speaking, is inspire. Speak as though you mean it. You need to inspire your audience, and the way to do that is to speak as though you mean every word of it. So it has to come from your actions. If you want to inspire your audience, whatever you say to them, you have to make it believable. Right? So inspire, speak as though you need it. That's the nugget for today. Yeah.
And my take home today from Memuna, ask for help. It is something that a lot of us are unable to do. I'll ask for help now. So when I come to you for help, please don't deny me.
Yes,
okay.
So
that's about the show today. Pharaoh, last word?
Self-care.
Okay, you?
self-care.
All right. So, support organizations. We all need to be a part of it to make our society a better one for us all. We'll see you again next week on the show. Today with John and Helen on Plus TV. Thank you so much for being a part of today's outing. Bye for now.
Hello there, my name is Akim Adebayo, and here is my good old days story. Once upon a time, this barrack boy had the rare privilege of attending military schools both at the primary and secondary school levels, where paramilitary activities were combined with quality education at next to no cost. I was that young boy who grew up in a nation bound by love, peace, and serendipity, a country where all that was of paramount interest to us as kids was to walk to school, attend assembly, sing in chorus to the national anthem, and pledging to our great country Nigeria to be faithful, loyal, and honest. Growing up in the midst of people of different tribes, religion, and educational background, we had a thing in common. We were all bonded by the calmness, yet disciplined military atmosphere. Those were the days when we make promises to our parents and we strive to fulfill those promises. In my case, I routinely made a promise and vowed to come first in my class at the end of each term, a promise I could fulfill only once. But the commitment to attend that vow was always an inspiration. Mere thought of calling my name and inviting me out for presentation of gifts before my classmates during prize giving day was a continuous driving force for me to always want to be at my best. Those were the good virtuous days when there were healthy rivalries, unjaundiced academic competition amongst students. How can I forget the numerous handwritten letters and postcards to friends and family? A visit to and fro the post office was always memorable, as you were excited with the suspense of getting a letter from the post office box and ahead of time. Hazard guesses on where, who the sender could have been. Oh, I remember with nostalgia our mail box, P.O. Box 219 Ipaja Post Office. That was the magic number. Can you recall yours? I wonder if that medium is still as potent as they were then, not with the advent of social media and smartphones. I equally recall those days when the sound of my dad's Peugeot 504 saloon car was a timely warning for comportment, a time to be well behaved and show your homeworks one after the other. It was a time to watch the famous NTA Channel 7 Tejo Show News and summarize the content of the day's newspaper to the man of the house, my father. God help you if the content of those newspapers were not fully digested and accurately summarized. Those were the days when we were taught to be abreast of events in our dear country. To what extent can we say today our children are very current on happenings in our country? I ask. I recall those days, those good days when holidays were times to bond with cousins and uncles, when it was as much fun to go to a cousin in the village and it was for another cousin to pay us a visit and spend the holiday with us in the city. Life then was modest and humble. Such moments to behold were those when my grannies would call me only by my native pet name, and this was always followed by a rendition of the family's panegyrics, known as Oriki in Yoruba. It was always an emotional trigger. The call of Ajani was all I always desired to hear, and would be eager to run errands without getting tired. What a time. How I dream in wishes that few of these moments be brought back and a slice of it granted to the current generation to taste. How can we change the narratives by working towards providing a greater future for the upcoming generation? Instead of reveling on the glorious past, we can do it. Ajani desires a brighter future laced with the solid foundation of the glorious past. Today, I equally identify with Sir Shamore Badijo in his desire to bring back all that is good about our past, with a view to redirecting our paths towards a greater future, not only for us, but the upcoming generation. I remain sincerely yours, Ajani.
Hello and welcome. It's Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime. Nimasa This Week is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. Statutorily mandated to ensure that there is regulation and promotion of matters affecting our waters. NIMASA bears responsibility for search and rescue, shipping development, and ship registration.
NIMASA This Week, the voice of maritime, showing on this channel.